Hello you fantastic people, and welcome back to Borderlands 3, to our third level 60 flak build, which I'm so keen to bring to you guys because it is our Gamma flak. It's making a comeback and absolutely destroys all mobbing situations. It's good at bossing as well, but this thing is the most survivable flak build we have. It absolutely wreaks havoc in the melee 1 takedown, the Guardian takedown. If you want to do DLC 3 on Mayhem 10, it's gonna be a walk in the park with this guy, trust me. And my favorite thing about it, I'm gonna start showing clips on screen so you guys can check it out, see the damage, and the variety of weapons is my favorite thing about it as well. There's a huge selection of weapons that are viable in Mayhem 10 again, which is fantastic. A bunch of new weapons in DLC 3. If you guys don't have DLC though, don't stress, there's a whole bunch of weapons that are non-DLC items that have been rescaled that you can use with this build as well, and they still do tons of damage, particularly after the new patch, which I'm super keen about. Like I said, this one absolutely destroys the Guardian takedown, but I think it's actually the best option, particularly for new players in the Guardian takedown. If you guys haven't managed to get through Mayhem 10 Guardian takedown, this is definitely the first build you want to try out because it's 1, extremely survivable, 2, it is the best flak option because of Red Fang. The class mod is fantastic. Using the pet taunts all the enemies away, making those crystal stages of Guardian takedown super simple, and makes it essentially a walk in the park. You can just stand there, capture them, and then just shoot the enemies from afar, and it is super simple. But yeah, in this video we're going to go over all the weapons that you guys are currently seeing on screen, destroying all the enemies, the ones to look out for, the anointments to look out for, as well as the skill tree build. We're going to run over it with all the new extra skill points we have, as well as the Mayhem modifiers I would recommend for this build. But yeah, let's get into the fun stuff, the weapons for you guys. Now there is a bunch of DLC 3 items in here, of course, because they're new, shiny, do a ton of damage. But if you guys don't have DLC, don't stress. There is a bunch of substitutes we'll run through at the same time as well. But let's jump into it. The light show is absolutely amazing. Would highly recommend this new pistol for you guys. If you haven't already got it, go for a Gamma Burst if you can. But to be honest, you actually don't really need an anointment for this weapon to be amazing. We actually have 3 in here. That one's a pretty useless anointment for this for a particular Gamma Burst build, and it does tons of damage anyway. This one also just reduces damage, does tons of damage anyway, so you don't actually need to go for the gold roll anointments, but of course if you get them, they're just going to do more damage, which is great. The gargoyle is a fantastic weapon. We ran over that on the channel already, would highly recommend that one. The flipper is really good. If you guys don't know how the flipper works, the longer you hold down the trigger, the more pellets this thing shoots for the same cost of 1 bullet. I believe it goes up to 9, might be 7, but regardless, it's a lot of pellets. Highly recommend this one if you can get Gamma Burst on it, of course. We managed to get this one super easy actually, just from the world drop system. We managed to get a Gamma Burst with the radiation and corrosive, which is fantastic for both the Guardian and the melee 1 takedown. The frequency, don't knock it until you try it. Let's just say that. I did that. I initially picked it up and went, oh, melee 1 shotgun that takes charge and it shoots a weird orb. I don't like it. But I actually watched a video on it, or got recommendations from chat as well actually, and it works really well. You just need to know how to use it. I'll show another clip on screen so you guys can see. This shotgun works on kill skills essentially. Once you've killed 1 enemy, it will then shoot double the amount of shots per time you pull the trigger, and still only cost the same amount, and will continually stack every single time that you kill an enemy within a short amount of time. But you can stack it up a solid amount to the point where you will be one-shotting, I guess, at least 1 ammo consumption shot each enemy. It's a fantastic weapon, would highly recommend you guys getting it. Go for a ×24 if you can, and of course Gamma Burst is going to help you out even more with the damage. As for other weapons, there is a ton of great options. As you can see, we have 50 out of 50 in our backpack. Starting with the Bloom, Gamma Burst anointment is the best one, or 200% ASA works really well as well. The Bloom, you have to charge it up first, but then shoots all the bullets at once in a super fast fire rate, and actually destroys pretty much anything, which is great. The Uncapped Herald is really good, worth farming if you go for the elemental types. It's super uncommon, unfortunately, to get the elemental versions, but it is worth it if you can get those with good anoints as well. They do tons of damage once you get those. The Miscreant is pretty awesome as well. Again, Gamma Burst, 200% ASA, both of them shred. The Light Show, like I said, fantastic weapon. You don't even need the good anoints, honestly, on these to work, but if you can get them, it's actually disgusting. It's fantastic. The Beacon is one of my new favorite weapons as well. It's essentially the Hell Shock 2.0. If you can get Gamma Burst as well, Shock Fire combo works. I haven't got a Radiation 1 yet, but I feel like on Gamma Burst that's gonna work really well. The Blanc is pretty good as well. It's not my favorite weapon, but it's a dull weapon that's very interesting how it works. Damaging enemies grants 35% weapon damage for a short amount of time. When switching between firing modes, stacks 10 times. So essentially what I do is fire the entire clip of one, reload, then switch firing modes, then fire all that one, and just keep going back around. And if you keep stacking that up, you can get 35% extra weapon damage per time. It's a lot of damage, but it does take a lot, and if you're down, then you lose those stacks, unfortunately. Other options, the License by Hyperion. It's really good as well with those anoints. It shreds in mobbing situations, pretty good in bossing as well, but it has the ricochet ability like Jacob's when not hitting a critical hit, and bounces to other enemies. It's really good in mobbing particularly. The Mother 2, I don't understand this weapon. I can't get it to do damage. I don't know if I'm missing something or if it's just bad, but I threw it in there anyways for the save file so you guys can check it out if you want, because we managed to get Gamma Burst with radiation, so I thought why not. The Flipper, like I said, fantastic weapon on any elemental variety. Consecutive hits works really well with this as well, because it has up to, I'm pretty sure it's 9 projectiles, so that stacks really quick, particularly with the Pearl as well. As for assault rifles, the new Contained Blast is really good. I'm trying to get a Gamma Burst version of the radiation elemental type. It'll be really strong. This one is actually, unfortunately, a lower damage base, unfortunately. For this one, for example, this is 3.6, whereas the fire elemental type we have is 5k, so it's a huge difference, unfortunately. The Monarch, still an amazing weapon, still probably the meta of anything. The Guardian Takedown, definitely use the Monarch, it shreds all the things, so definitely use those ones. The Spade, I don't really get it, if I'm going to be honest. It does a bit of damage. It has a super fast fire rate. It's good for individual enemies, but nowhere near as good as, for example, the Bang Stick when it comes to bossing situations. But for example, in the pack of enemies, maybe in the Guardian Takedown or something, it has the ability of shooting through enemies, like hitting, sticking bullets, and then continuing through, hitting enemies behind them. So maybe in a pack of Guardians, that could be a good way to shred the armor. The Robin's Call is a really good weapon. New Jacob's Shotgun. You can get times 16. It's super rare, but you can get that. Would recommend if you can. The Recursion, I didn't farm for a new one yet. It's not really necessary, to be honest, with the Recursion, but if you guys don't have one, the Recursion absolutely destroys the Guardian Takedown. If you can get a ×2 version, it's the best. Again, Radiation, Gamma Burst, Anoint, and Radiation Corrosive elemental types. The Yellow Cake, we left that one in as well. Doesn't do as much damage as it used to, unfortunately, but it definitely still works for, say, individual enemies as well. The Complex Root, fantastic weapon. We made a build on that one last night. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out with Fadeaway Flak. Absolutely annihilates bosses. Works really well in this build as well for individual enemies. They've got to try and stand still because it has a area effect damage kind of deal, but it's really worth using. The Sandhawks, I didn't even farm new ones yet, but it's still absolutely destroys with those weapons. If you guys want to farm level 60s, it's going to do even better. Krakatoa is really good option as well instead of the Complex Root if you guys don't have DLC 3. As you probably saw, there's a whole bunch of DLC items in here. The Monarch is going to be absolute meta for non-DLC weapons. The Cutsman still really works extremely well. The Maggie also made a huge comeback. I don't have it in this build at the moment, but if you guys want a non-DLC item, the Maggie destroys again, as well as the Garcia. If you guys want to farm either of those, they absolutely destroy again, which is really good. Love to see it. As for shields, the Transformer is my current one I have for most situations. Other options I would recommend would be an Old God. If you can get it, I never get Old Gods for some reason. They just won't drop. But if you guys can get a radiation one, it buffs radiation damage by 20%, which is really good. Plus you get health regen whenever shields are full, which is great because we have a lot of health with this flak, so that's fantastic. Other options is a stopgap. You get immunity for 5 seconds to damage whenever you break the shield. Again, we only have a level 57, but if you get a level 61, pretty sure capacity goes up 26 or 27k, around about there. Pair that Radiation Anoint with a Fire Anoint down the bottom with the Grenade. That's going to do tons of damage. As soon as you finish Gamma Burst, it means you won't essentially have 0 damage when you're out of Gamma Burst, because most of these skills, Anoints, all that stuff is centered well in Gamma Burst, because you're trying to keep that going as long as possible. But I have those ASC Anoints on so that we can do some damage outside of it, get some kills, get Gamma Burst back on as quickly as possible, which keeps us alive and keeps us killing enemies. As for Artifact, the Pearl, of course, is still the absolute standard in this game. It's the best one by far. Other options and other ones I keep regardless anyway is the Cutpurse Launchpad. Refills ammo really well when you combine it with the Guardian perk of just slamming on the ground. Using that, it gets it back instantly. It's really good for the Guardian Takedown in particular. The other option is my Snowdrift Auto Idle. I've kept since the start of the game. Zooming around everywhere saves so much time and I love it. Plus the Auto Idle gets that health regen, which is really good upon killing enemies. Try and get some passives if you're going to be using a Snowdrift, so you get some more damage where you would have lost it in the Pearl. Shotgun damage, mag size, and action skill is fantastic for something like a Garcia, or that new frequency shotgun, which I highly rate and would recommend for you guys. As for class mods, Red Fang is definitely the best choice by far for Gamma Burst builds. Whenever Gamma Burst is active, Flak's pet taunts all enemies, which is so good in the Guardian takedown. It distracts all the enemies from the crystal areas and they just run to the pet. It can take all the damage now, it's crazy. And you can just stand there, capture those crystals and shoot from afar. It's really good, you don't even get attacked, which is great. We have a whole bunch of different passives for any occasion. I literally put all 8 of the ones I have in here for the game save for you guys. We have them for all occasions. For Jacob's Splash, just regular weapon damage, Hyperion, shotguns. We even have two practically the same. I got these on stream that have 35% damage of each like class type, which is great. Plus we have just like weapon, assault rifle, action skill. That one's a bit of a god roll, but it is from level 50. So if you guys get a level 60 version, it's going to do crazy amounts of damage as well. As for Mayhem modifiers, I've changed this one up slightly since last time. Buddy system is definitely my recommended one. Unfortunately, sometimes the buddy system little shield thing gets stuck in walls. That's the main reason I didn't like it, but we do lose a lot of damage if we use this build with Holy Crit, because we have a lot of weapons that you can't hit crits all the time. For example, the frequency, it's kind of hard to hit all of them in the head. Chain Gang is the one I recommend over the laser unless you're using the Recursion, the Guardian takedown. Chain Gang is just good because it's obnoxious. You can see it all the time. It doesn't sneak up on you. You can jump over it, that kind of thing. Plus, it doesn't really do that much damage either, so I rate it highly. The Healy Avenger, also recommend that one because it doesn't really affect me, honestly. Like, sometimes one enemy gets a health regen, but it's not that big a deal. You just kill them again anyways. As for easy modifier, I always have Big Kick Energy on for increasing gun damage. Recoil and weapon spread doesn't bother me at all, so I'd rather have more gun damage. If you're doing the Guardian takedown, I use the Speed Demon to do those jump skips in a few different spots. Would recommend that if you guys are down to do that. Now, as for skill tree, of course, we're going Gamma Burst. The augments, though, are the Empathetic Rage and Burst Aid combo. Getting health regen whenever you're stood at the Gamma Burst site is fantastic. Plus, that just straight up gives you 20% damage, so that's an easy no-brainer. As for skill tree points, Persistent Hunter, 3 points in there for sure. Gun damage and action skill duration is really good. You want to try and keep Gamma Burst open as long as possible in this build because you get more damage and survivability. Put 2 points into Ferocity. Pets actually do some damage now, which is really good with the new patch. So put 2 points in that and they'll just do more damage. We also have an extra point from our class mod, so they're going to get 30% more damage. Put 5 points in Frenzy. Frenzy stacks really well with Heat Bites. Whenever your pet is either doing damage or taking damage, you're getting Frenzy, which I checked most of my footage. It's always up pretty much whenever you're in any fight, boss fight or mobbing situation, doesn't matter. You always have 10 stacks of Frenzy. I have a point in there from my class mod, but if you don't have that point from the class mod, I would recommend just putting a point in there via your skill points. Then put 5 points into Who Rescued Who. That is more health as well as health for your pet whenever you're doing damage. Keeps them alive really well. Then we put a point into Mutated Defenses. Whenever your pet's about to go down, it essentially has crazy amounts of damage reduction as well as health regen. Keeps it alive, which is good for him and of course you as well, because he's taunting enemies. He's also taking a whole bunch of your damage because we can share spirit a whole bunch of our damage we're taking, 50% of it, to our pet whenever we're at low health, which is great. Put 5 points into Barbaric Yelp. 200% extra pet bonuses is really good. Definitely put 5 points there. And 3 points into Pet Tactics for increased damage for us and pet, as well as health for us and pet, which is highly recommended. As for Red Tree, we put 3 points into Leave No Trace whenever you hit a crit hit, particularly with something like the Monarch. Lots of pellets, you're getting that back all the time, getting tons of ammo back into your magazine. Plus 5 points into Interplanetary Stalk is a fantastic kill skill. Get a whole bunch of different damage bonuses, pet damage, all that stuff. Put 5 points into Hunter's Eye, get a whole bunch of different bonuses depending on who you're fighting. I put 2 points into Head Count. That gets you down to the next level. Essentially, whenever you're hitting crit hits, you're getting action skill cooldown rate. I don't think it's necessary to have all 3 for Gamma Burst. It's not very often that you use it, so I feel like you could use the extra point elsewhere better. I put 3 points into Big Game. Always put that in whenever you're in Red Tree. Put 3 points in Most Dangerous Game. It's probably the strongest, I'm pretty certain. Yeah, strongest kill skill Flak has. It's really good. Heaps of gun damage, heaps of crit damage. Pet damage as well is now really useful. Handling is good, especially in Mayhem 10. And it lasts 120 seconds. I totally blanked. 120 seconds is a really long time. Would recommend that as well. A point in Galactic Shadow. easy crit hit damage, and Megavore is of course a fantastic capstone. Now the last 5 points, I put 2 points in Grim Harvest and 3 points in Second Intention. You can put all 5 points into Grim Harvest if you want some more damage. It bugs me when I don't have enough reload speed if I'm just stood jumping around trying to reload. So I put a few points in there. I don't think anyone needs 5 points in it because it is enough essentially at 3 points. 8 plus 15% if you're getting critical kills is really quick. And then I just put the extra 2 in there for some more damage. Plus across the green tree, we put 5 points into Furious Attack now, up from 4 in our last build because now we have more skill points, which is great. Now you can get all 20% extra damage just for shooting enemies, which is really good. 30% pet damage, which is great. Now that the pet does damage, it's going to be going ham in Gamma Burst. Plus get an extra 48% handling, which is really good when you're using the Mayhem modifier, Big Kick Energy. Getting more handling is great. As for pet choice, like you saw, we're using Great Horn Skag, which gives us 15% damage and 30% gun damage. If you guys don't know why you have 5 and 10 rather than 15 and 30, it's because we put 5 points in Barbaric Yelp, so we're getting that extra damage on both just regular damage and gun damage. So we're doing tons of damage. But yeah, that's everything I have for the Gamma Burst Flak level 60 Mayhem 10 build. Absolutely shreds all the things, bossing, mobbing, it doesn't matter, and uses so many weapons, which is a lot of fun. If you guys enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, feel free to smash subscribe down below for some more Borderlands 3 builds, videos, and all those fun things. If you guys want to help me out even more, you can smash like and share the video down below. That will help me out a lot. And if you guys want to check us out over on Twitch, I'll be live streaming tonight. I live stream every night just after I post my YouTube videos. That's linked down below, or just search Cody McHugh on Twitch. It's a pretty cool place to hang out with people that like Borderlands 3 and just get up to some random shenanigans in the game. And yeah, hope you guys have a fantastic day. I shall see you guys in the next video and a live stream. Till then, adios.